Scafflogic introduces you to a world of logic. Hello and welcome to this Scafflogic step-by-step guide. In this video series, we will show you how to build a complete project from the ground up. We will show you how to build a house, its windows, the dormer external building, which you can see here, and we will show you how to build staircases. Of course, we will also show you how to place the scaffold with a rubbish chute, shielding, and other visual objects. Let's start by erecting the actual building. I will go to the first corner and select Building. I will then push the Set key and enter my desired measurement. Then I could go to the next corner and enter my measurement and continue until my structure is complete. We now have a building ready to work with, but at the moment it is too high, so I will change the setting from 10 meters to 3.4 meters. Once I click OK, the height of my building will be adjusted accordingly. Now we need to create a gable. Once I select Create Gable, the system generates a purple line which outlines the building, and this line tells me that I am allowed to create gables on this type of structure. I can then go in and edit my gable by right-clicking to get into edit mode. In this example, I will be using a special gable which gives me the possibility to change my gable's shape. I'll enter the peak and change it to 600 centimeters. Then I will do the same thing to the left side and the right side. Finally, I will click Apply so I can get an image of my gable. I am happy with my settings, so I will click OK. At this point, I need to copy the gable from one end of the building to the other by using the Copy function. I'll start by making a mirror image of the gable and then dragging it down to the other end. I will confirm by hitting Enter. We can now add a roof to our building. We do this by going into the Content menu and selecting Roof Options, Add Roof. Once I do this, the system gives me a roof line with degrees and overhang. We will just add the roof as is and switch to 3D mode to have a look. Here we have a primary building, and we can now go in and create another building for the project. I will go back into the Content menu and select Add Building. I will snap to the corner and use the Set key. You can see the radius line is guiding me as I go. Remember to always finish the building by ending up at the starting point. And there you have it. It is currently standing to 1,000 centimeters in height, which is a little bit too high for this garage, so I will go into Properties and change the setting to 200 centimeters and click OK. And now we have the primary building with a garage attached. In this part, we will apply some terrain objects from the Terrain module. Let's go into Modify Terrain and choose a normal staircase. We'll make a staircase which goes down to the basement, and we'll start by setting the first point and dragging our staircase to how long and how wide it should be. And in this case, we will just make some slight modifications. We will change the height of the staircase and will also change the height of the rise. And finally, we will click Descending, since this will be a basement staircase. We click OK, and you can see that the system has generated a symbol to represent our staircase. Let's make another stair object. We have another type called Stamp Stair, and we will place a stamp stair object in front of the building. Again, we select the first point and drag the staircase into position. Once we have it situated, we can release the mouse button and a dialog box will appear, giving us the ability to alter the parameters. On this one, we'll change the number of steps. Let's click Apply and see the finished result. We can now move to 3D mode to see what we actually did. Remember, to exit terrain mode, you will need to hit the Escape key or right-click on the object. And here you can see our basement staircase, and on the other side we have our stamp stairs. In this part, we will try to apply some windows to our house, so it will look more realistic. Let's go into elevation mode and right-click on the window operator and add window. First, we'll make a door on the stairway by entering the measurement and clicking OK. As you can see, it is very easy at this point to place the door into the desired position. We can look in 3D to confirm that our door is placed properly. Let's make some windows. Again, we'll go into the window operator, and in this case we will use the window stripe. We will make adjustments to the window measurement, add the number of columns, and click OK. I can then drag my windows into position. I have some alignment tools that I can use to make sure I have exact measurements, and you can see that a control line comes up. I have one more, so we have a cross point to place the window corner after. I click once and place the sets of windows. I can do the same to the other side. I want to keep some symmetric distance, so I am using the Control key S to move the windows around, and the Set key to enter my measurements. Again, you can see my guideline, and I am clicking once. And now I have placed my windows, and here they are in 3D view. Let's try the same thing on the other wall. We will click on the wall and go to the elevation menu, where you can see we have an empty wall. So we will choose the window operator and use the window stripe function because we want to add more than one window. Let's create a more sophisticated window this time, using the available options. As you can see, we have several parameters that we can adjust to change the dimensions of the window and also the face of the window. We can add different kinds of details to the windows. We can change our top frame and vertical points. We can also put a seal underneath the window, and in this case we will ensure it has an overhang of 10 centimeters. Finally, I will enter the number of columns and the horizontal space I want between the windows. Let's click OK. You can see that when I drag them out, I also have my terrain line. I will go in now, make my control line again, enter 125 centimeters, and place the windows. And now we can see how they look in 3D mode. Let's go back and use one of the other window functions, and in this case I think I will make a gable window. We'll click on one of the gables, go to the elevation menu, right-click to get to the content menu, and select Windows Operator, Add Window. Now we can go into one of the more advanced features called Rounded Window, where we again have many options to choose from. We can change the height, the width, and the number of vertical points. Let's go ahead and place it. And now we have a house with windows all around. In this episode, we will add some extra components to the wall. In this case, we will try to add some dormers. And down in the roof operator, in the content menu, we have something called the obstacle operation. Here we have different kinds of obstacles. We have chimneys and dormers. And in this case, we will work with the dormers. As you can see, we have parameters that we can use to change the shape of the obstacle, and we will round the corners for artistic effect. We will also go in and change a little bit on the side displacement, which is an option to put bricks on the sides of the dormer wall. You can see that it has changed to a red color, which means it is running a line according to the roof. I am pushing the hotkey and the system will flip it around so it is aligned properly. Let's now make a control line and place the first dormer. I can then click here and take an exact copy of the first dormer and place it like so. And of course, a dormer like this has a window, so we will go out of the obstacle function and just take a quick look at it in 3D. And then let's place some windows by clicking on the dormer and going into the elevation menu where we are able to place window objects. Again, let's go to the window operator like we did in the previous episode and define a nice window. Of course, after making one window and one dormer, it is possible to multiply them, so you don't have to go back in and keep adding windows to empty dormers. It is much faster this way if you have a lot of dormers. Let's align the window to the building and then place it. Here is the first one in 3D view. Let's go in again to create the second one. We first click on the dormer, go back into elevation menu, right-click, Windows Operation, Add Menu, and select the rounded window. Notice that the system remembers the window we created previously. Align it, place it, and now we have some beautiful dormers with windows. In this episode, we will continue improving on our building by changing the garage and adding a roof. So let's get right to it. First, we'll work with the garage, and I will extend the width of the garage a bit by using the Modify Wall function. I will use the Z key to get an exact measurement. Now we have our wall. We need to be able to place scaffold on top of it, and we can do this by adding a roof. In this case, we will be adding a flat roof. Let's go into Roof Properties, and the trick here is to add a roof angle of 0 degrees. We also need to remove the overhangs by setting it to 5 centimeters. When we do this, the system will automatically recognize this as a flat roof, and then we'll be able to place scaffolding on it. And here is how it looks. Before we can add a scaffold, we need to change the property which will allow us to place the scaffold. We go down to Roof Properties and click on Allow Scaffold on Roof. Now we can add scaffolding. Let's add a gate to the garage. We go to the elevation menu, bring up the content menu, and select Add Gate. Let's change the properties of the gate by right-clicking on the content menu. And here we have the ability to change measurement parameters. One of the things we can do is change the distance from the wall. So let's make it a bit wider and a bit higher. We could also change the name, but in this case we won't. And here you can see we have added the gate. We can't see the protected area in 3D mode, but we can see it here in 2D. Let's do the same thing to the stairs because we will need to be able to enter the house through this door. So we will add an object called protected area, and here we are just following the lines of the stamp stair object. We will finish it off at the beginning point. We can go in and select the clearing height, and in this case, we will make it to 270 centimeters and confirm it. Once confirmed, the object instantly changes color, which tells us that we are ready to erect the scaffold. In this episode, we'll start adding the scaffolding to the project. We'll begin by using the Add Bay function and placing sections one by one around the building. As you can see, I am simply dragging them out and using the hotkey space to copy this last section. Let's just move our group here for now. We will adjust the scaffold along the gable wall and then finish doing the last wall. Let's apply the stripe function by going into the content menu and adding a stripe, allowing the system to plot our solution. And we will accept this. We'll use the copy function to copy this gable to the other side, and we'll rotate it so the guardrail is facing the outside. You may notice that the garage seems to be in our way at the moment, but we don't really have to worry about it because the system will solve this problem. We need to make some final adjustments to this scaffold, getting it as close to the wall as possible until we get a gray line, which indicates the safety distance needed between the wall and the scaffold. We can then align the gable on the other side until it too is aligned properly. Finally, we need to align the bottom gable to form a group. You can see that we have a connection established on the left side, but we have a problem with the right side. So we will try to get the system to make the needed connection. Now we have a connection on the right side. Let's go back to the left side and make a slight adjustment until we get a firm connection on both sides. And there we have it. Now let's use the stripe function to create the last scaffold. We'll make this one a little longer so we have an optimal fit. Notice that every time I move it, the system plots a new solution, and I will do this until I get it just right. We'll drop it down and establish our connections. And now we are grouped on both ends. You can see that we have the safety distance on both sides, indicated by the gray line. Let's select all stripes and then we can generate the scaffold. We'll jump to 3D mode to take a closer look. As you can see, because of the protected area, the scaffold is not touching the staircase. The system has also solved our gable and garage problem area, and scaffolding has been placed nicely around the basement staircase. Let's finish off the project by enhancing it with some visual effects and adding some additional components to the scaffold. In the first case, we will use our brick guard, which is a component to protect workers from falling from the roof, and we'll place a 100 centimeter brick guard here. In 3D mode, we can see that it was applied to the whole facade side in one click. We'll go back in and add a rubbish chute by right-clicking to bring up the content menu and selecting Section, Rubbish Chute, Add. And a symbol has been instantly added to the drawing to indicate placement of the chute. In 3D, you can see that it is hanging from an outside console, and it goes all the way down to the ground. Now we need to add an access column so we can gain entry into the scaffold. We go to the Section menu and add Access Deck. The system will automatically place the access column from the top deck to the ground. In addition, we can add trees on our plan drawing to spruce up the project. When we add a tree, a symbol is generated, and here is the tree standing in 3D mode. If you are ever unhappy with the placement of an additional object, you can always go back and make changes. Let's go back into the plan drawing and remove this tree by right-clicking and removing the object. We will do the same thing to the other one, and then place 2 more trees in different locations. And here they are in their new spots. Let's go to Elevation menu now and add a worker to the scaffold. When we add a worker in the Elevation menu, we get a realistic representation of the size and shape of the worker that will be placed on the scaffold in both views. And here is what he looks like in 3D. So now we have a finished scaffold with enhancements. All we need to do now is make a calculation for the quote and print out the drawings together with the material list, and we will have a finished project.